Taoiseach, firstly I want to say I welcome the fact that GSOC has sent a file to the DPP in relation to the killing of George Nkencho. I understand that the Taoiseach will not be able to comment on the particular case. However, there are broader issues raised by George's killing. I want to quote from a statement issued by his sister, Gloria Nkencho, yesterday, which raises some of those issues. She said, "As we reflect upon the conclusion of the investigation into George's tragic death, it is imperative to acknowledge the insidious influence of racial bias that tainted the initial media coverage of George's case. We cannot ignore the manner in which journalists, including those from the national broadcaster RTE, portrayed our family's arduous struggle for justice. The impact of inaccurate reporting, fuelled by leaks from An Garda Síochána, continues to shape the prevailing narrative. However, today's announcement fills us with hope that this long-standing injustice will be rectified, finally dispelling the inaccuracies that have plagued the understanding of the facts surrounding George's untimely death. We are also compelled to express our profound disappointment in the political response, or rather the lack thereof. It is disheartening to witness the major political parties in the state, who should have been beacons of support and solidarity, fail to stand beside our family in our relentless quest for justice. This glaring absence underscores the impression within marginalised communities that members of An Garda Síochána can operate with impunity, even in the aftermath of such a heart-wrenching tragedy. We also raise valid concerns about the potential role of racial bias in shaping the decision of politicians to withhold public support. It is impossible to overlook the question, would the response have been different if the victim had been a white, middle-class young man from the leafy suburbs of South County Dublin? I think Gloria is right, and all those questions go right to the heart of public sector duty for equality and the need for human rights assessment.
Just starting with the sad death of George Nkencho. George was a constituent of mine, and sadly lost his life. Sadly was killed in the way that he was. At the time, I met with his family, and their legal team were with them. It was a virtual meeting at the time because it was during the pandemic, and a GSOC investigation was established. And I think that was the appropriate course of action. That nobody jumps to conclusions, or none of us as politicians should jump to conclusions. GSOC has now carried out its investigation. A file is with the DPP, and the DPP will decide whether or not the Gardaí concerned have a case to answer. And I think we should await that decision. And the right thing to do, in my view, in terms of natural justice, is not to jump to a conclusion as to what happened here. Let's see what decision is made by the DPP, and if it goes to trial, and what the outcome is. But certainly extend my sympathies again to the family, to the friends of George, and to the wider community, which was very deeply affected by this, and they certainly have our sympathies, given what they've had to endure. But I think it's not right for any of us, no matter what perspective we're coming from, to jump to conclusions. GSOC carried out an investigation that was appropriate. The matter is now with the DPP, and the DPP will decide whether or not anyone has a case to answer, and we'll take it from there. Just in relation to
broader issue of racial bias amongst politicians, amongst RTE, amongst journalists, etc. I wasn't asking you to comment about.
Well, like I say, I'm not sure, Deputy, because it's very hard for me to answer that. But certainly, in terms of my own actions, I don't think I personally was guilty of any racial bias, or my party. I met with the family and their legal team. I also contacted the Gardaí, but I didn't meet with the Gardaí involved. And it's my view that you allow an investigation to take place. But that's just me. I can't speak for other politicians, and I can't speak for RT or the media. But I don't think you're accusing me of racial bias, but if you are, I don't think it's a fair charge.